I think we should call like art. We should call art without having to worry about whether it's pretentious or not. I guess it's just maybe because I've seen people talk about it in a pretentious way.
Right.
Oh my god, this is art. Yeah, that's not what I mean. I'm just trying to talk about art as an objective thing, just like any other thing. So yeah, there you go.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of the second Year Run Podcast. My name is Wyatt Mason. I am your host of this podcast, and today I have this very special guest with me, ADDY, from our second year. Welcome, ADDY.
Thank you, Wyatt. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Happy to be part of the show. Excited to see where this goes.
We really haven't worked on a lot of things together. The only thing we've really done together is a scene recreation video for a lighting assignment where we did a scene from The Social Network. But other than that, we haven't really been in a lot of production groups. We haven't really worked on a lot of projects together. How did you feel about the first year of BCIT? What would, like, your thoughts overall? Did you have a good time? Did you like it? Did you get to do everything that you wanted to do?
I liked it for sure. There were things I did not expect to do, and I got to do them. And there were things that I wanted to do as well, which I couldn't get the chance to because the responsibilities that you already had as whatever your role was on your projects was all consuming anyway. But what I tried to do was stick to my guns and also try to be a good resource, be a good asset to my team, people around me. And that's what I hope to do this time, but also in a slightly more advanced way.
I mentioned last week that we have this sort of short film. It's not really a short film. It's more of like a comedy kind of scene. It's called Bad Credit. That's the name of it. That we're all kind of working on. We're all separated in 4 different little production groups and working on it. I've been the director on my project that I'm doing, and my group has just been kind of doing the work and getting our team charter done, and I wrote a final script because we were given a script, and then we kind of had to adapt it into our own sort of vision and make it work and whatnot. So we're chugging along pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it, but just from kind of your standpoint, what role are you doing in this production, and how's it all coming together for you guys?
So I'm doing the role of first AC on my production, first assistant camera, which is a lot of it would be pulling focus, rack focus, pull focus, whatever you want to call it. I try to get my hands dirty with that one, with that role, and it's obviously not easy, but therein lies the fun part, because that is the challenge that you have to get through as a student, and also get more experience with gear, with the camera. I love writing. Writing is something that cannot or does not want to escape me, even though I don't try to like make it escape me. But it's like there's days where you think that, oh, there's this idea that I want to write, but then something just pulls you back from just like sitting your ass down and actually writing. And then once the few times that you get to do that, it could be like time constraints or like daily responsibilities. Once you do that, once you get going, once you're in the flow state, you feel really, really satisfied. Writing and directing is are 2 roles that I would love to explore more. First AC sounds like a bit of an anomaly in terms of what I want to do, because this is a camera department role, and I something just clicked for me this time, and I was like, no, even the instructors were saying that they would prefer if the students choose a role that they're uncomfortable with. I have not been a gearhead. I don't own like a fancy camera or lens or anything like that. I do not own that. So I just thought that would be like this would be like a good opportunity to explore the role of a first AC, or being literally behind the camera. That's what made me pick up first AC, and I'm excited to see how my arc gets improved.
What roles did you have during the first year for the commercial that we did for the local client, and then for the kind of the PSA?
For the corporate video assignment, I was the director for that.
Okay.
Had a pretty good experience. For the commercial, I was the producer. And for the music video, I chose the music video instead of what was the other option?
An SSL.
An SSL, shoot sequence light. Yeah. I wanted to go for the music video because again, there was a song the song that I shot my music video on was James Blake's "Limit to Your Love." It's something. It's a song that I've known that song for about a decade, and then this opportunity comes along, and my mind toys with this idea of okay, do we want to do this? And then maybe not, maybe yes, maybe not, and then so this yes no phase keeps going on, and then one fine day, just because of because of the mere passage of time and the time constraints come into place, and you have to just go ahead with that thing that you might or might not want to do, but then you have to end up doing it anyway. That's one of the things I love about deadlines. It brings stuff out of you, and I want to do the music video, one, because of the song, two, because I wanted to have some sort of a narrative storyline that I could come up with and explore all within the span of like 2 quick minutes. So that's what made me want to do the music video, like write and direct. I mean, you don't write a music video. I've always thought about this. Like, the story that I've designed for the music video, does that mean that I've written it? I guess I did, but then it's all about like basing it on the beats of the story. So basing it on the beats of the song. So yeah, I wrote the story and I conceptualized the thing, and we just had like half a day to shoot it, and we faced also
just half a day, really?
Yeah, I mean,
you did that. All of that was really okay.
Yeah, just like we started in the morning. I had Josiah and Thompson to help me. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, Josiah, like, just a shout out to these guys, of course. Thompson helped with audio, of course, as he does on literally all productions. Like,
that's the guy. If I have him on, I don't have to ask him.
He's the go-to.
He did. Yeah.
He's the go-to. He's the go-to. And Josiah, he was the DP on my music video, and if you see the music video, there is like this sort of abstract thing that I'm trying to deal with, like a detective storyline. But and at one point I was like, Josiah, is this making sense? Is this like, will this work? And then Josiah was like, yeah, just don't worry, just chill. It will work. He has that calm personality, So
absolutely, yeah.
And I was like very thankful of them. I was thankful for the actors who came in and volunteered for the shoot, and fed them pizza.
We had a little screening last year, and your music video came up, and I saw a little bit of the editing while you were working on it. So when it was on screen, I was like, "Oh shit, I get to see it! This is gonna be great."
That was
really good.
That was a. I mean, again, like this, it's a testament to theatrical over streaming. Like, okay, like this is going like way high and above, like
right, actually having the people in the room,
that them having the reaction, and we both, because we both used to meet each other in the editing room. You were editing your amazing wacky basketball music video, and you used to talk about your music video, and in this, like, silly sort of, this is just the thing I'm doing. I don't know if it'll work or not, but I just want to do it. So that thing carried so beautifully to the audience as well, and like there's that shift of when the tensions are rising, and then the whole thing takes place on a basketball court. Like that made the audience erupt. Like there were a lot of cheers and claps. Yeah.
Which was exactly what I was going for.
That's the thing we live. We that's the thing we're in this field for.
I want to talk about the art of the burrito that I had the other day. I think we're going to make this as a recurring segment on the podcast. It's over in the Student Association building. They have a little food court there. and like connected to Triple O's and whatnot, and they had a burrito place there. And I gotta say, for the price you paid, it was a pretty damn good burrito. It was nice. It was like I don't know how else to say this, but it was nice. It was big. It was round. It was a good shape. They had 5 different kinds of like sauces that you could kind of put on it. I just went with like the Red Hot, which I think is just literal Frank's Red Hot, which is fine. I like Frank's, but I went with that. I got the pulled chicken on the white sort of tortilla, not the whole grain, because I went into a whole thing last week about my thoughts on whole grain. So
You did, yeah.
So I did in fact go with the white option when I was given the option. So that shows you I'm true to my core. But it was a good thing I did because it was delicious and it was tasty. You know the best thing I liked about it was too? I had it sitting around for a little bit because I didn't eat it right away, so it got a little cold. And then I put it in the microwave, heated that bad boy up, boom, still as tasty as ever. And in my opinion, that is a mark of a truly good burrito. Because a bad burrito, it'll like get all soggy and it'll fall apart because the tortilla isn't that great. And they put they put a little bit too much sauce on there because they wanted to have the sauce, but they put a little too much. Nah, it was like perfect. So if you're looking for food around a campus on BCIT, because you got a little bit of time, I suggest going over to that burrito place. And you can maybe even get a combo with the pops and some chips if you wanted to as well. I just got the burrito by itself. But it's a good option to go with. They've got a couple different options. I don't know why I'm trying to sell this right now. I'm not getting any money from it, but I just wanted to really talk about this burrito, especially after last week when I was kind of complaining about sort of the options of sandwiches and whatnot. I felt like I should come back and say, hey.
You should, yeah. Because we have, the BCIT campus is big enough to have a couple of options, notable options for food. And if I know it's a bit expensive, maybe it's a location thing, but a general advice to all students would be to not attend classes hungry, because that takes your mind off what's being taught and you're just thinking about food. Thinking about food is always great. I mean, we do that all the time anyway. But it's good. It's a good thing to not arrive into a class on an empty stomach, because it just distracts you further. Fridays are unnecessarily tough for us. I don't know why they don't have a lecture a lunch break.
Yeah, so we have 5 classes. Is only one of them about an hour long, or is 2 of them about an hour long? I think 2 of them are about an hour long. Two. Yes, because then. So 2 1-hour classes would be 2 hours there, and then 3 other 2-hour classes. So that makes the 5 altogether. Yeah. It's literally like right from 8:30 in the morning until like 4:20 in the afternoon. We're just in classes with no chance. We're at like the mercy of the gods to like hopefully let us out early and get something to eat.
And God forbid if you have like a part-time shift after school on a Friday. God help you. Yeah.
I want to talk about a movie that I enjoyed, that I'm kind of surprised that it maybe just doesn't have a bigger, I don't want to say following, but maybe even just kind of a fan base, because I think it has a really good and interesting and kind of a unique idea of a time travel movie, and that movie that I'm talking about is Looper by Rian Johnson.
Recite the log line.
Go for it.
Because we're in the course, and like log lines always help. So the log line for Looper goes: in 2074, when the mob wants to get rid of someone, the target is sent into the past, where a hired gun awaits, someone like Joe, who one day learns that the mob wants to close the loop by sending back Joe's future self for assassination. Looper is written and directed by Rian Johnson. I think I've seen the movie twice, but both times have been like couple of years ago from now. The first time I saw it was like I think only maybe a couple of years after it came out, which is a long time ago. It came out in 2012. The second time I saw the movie was recent enough, but still long ago. I think like 3 or 4 years. So sci-fi, favorite genre, mystery. If you add the element of mystery on sci-fi, I mean, like, give it to me. that's and the fact that it's written and directed by one person makes you give this sense of idea of like, okay, more creative control, and these are always like the individualistic movies that if they get financed and made, like that you know that it has the potential to be good because it was okayed or it was greenlit, which we know is a difficult thing to happen at all in the industry.
The first question I want to ask for you, though, because it is one of the first things you realize right away from the movie, how do you feel about narration as like a film thing? Because a lot of movies use a narrator to a certain point. Like Apocalypse Now has got its narrator. Looper obviously is using a narrator.
Oh, the voiceover, you mean?
So, yeah, the voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah, in that kind of a way where it's the story is being told to us not through actions, but through, honestly, just a disembodied voice that is giving us the context that we need. Like, for example, in Looper, when they start off, he's really kind of introducing the world. And even with, like, not Jeff Bridges, Jeff Daniels. With Jeff Daniels' character. Yeah, with Jeff Daniels' character, he, like, straight up, like, introduces him. The audience doesn't really get a chance to kind of get an idea of what this guy is up to. Instead, we're told who he is. Because it kind of breaks the show don't tell rule. You know what I mean? If we're shown how this guy is and how he acts and whatnot, we can get an idea of who he is. But when Joseph Gordon-Levitt is just telling us,
can you give a little more background about like what bothered you or like what stuck out?
For me, it's how brief it is. Like, it almost reminds me of like Blade Runner, where they had to get Harrison Ford to come back because what they shot wasn't clear enough. And people argue and say, well, it was also supposed to be like a noir thing too, that the detectives in a noir movie went yada yada. But the truth is, they still had to have him come back. If it was the intention from the beginning that they wanted the narrator to come in for Blade Runner and do it from the beginning, like Apocalypse Now, like from the beginning, Francis Ford Coppola, when he was doing Apocalypse Now, he knew that he wanted a narrator. That's why he got Joe Estevez to come in like almost like right away upon realizing, because he knew he wanted that narrator. And that's the thing, through Apocalypse Now it kind of follows through, or like a Fight Club, it follows through. But then within Looper, it exists just to give that information at the beginning. And maybe once again, maybe Rian Johnson is drawing the comparison to he's doing the comparison to Blade Runner, because they kind of open that same kind of futuristic potential future of the world and whatnot. So maybe he's just doing a tribute there. But I still think that if you're going to have that voice, it should be a constant thing. It should be a consistent thing. It should be something that is a part of the whole film.
The whole film. Understood.
Spoiler alert. It kind of comes back in at the end when he kills himself, because he has that little bit of narration where he's kind of going the options and whatnot through his mind of what the potential future could be.
I see what you mean. And you began with the example of Blade Runner. The ending to the original cut of Blade Runner was more sad, because noir is supposed to be sad. But because it was like more of a big budget sci-fi, a risky project, the theatrical cut was the one that used the voiceover. And the voiceover helped sort of put like a neat, a little bow tie on the proceedings. And then there's all sorts of debates about which cut is better, who prefers what.
That's true too.
And so I think that considering Blade Runner's history of conception, what Looper might have gone. This is just my guess, obviously, but what might have gone on was Rian Johnson. Obviously, he's a pretty good writer and filmmaker, of course, because he writes his own material. And what I feel could have been the case was he had a story fleshed out. He must have had additional scenes with the character that you're talking about, but maybe due to runtime issues and studio screenings, the notes or the feedback he must have gotten was, okay, we don't want to see much of this character, or something towards that end, where they wanted to like cut things up. And when you've shot something, when you've created a longer story, a longer narrative, like if you go from a novel and if you cut down to if you try to cut a novel to a film, you'll see like almost not all, but a lot of adaptations of novels contain the voiceover element, because they want to skim over stuff which you need to know for the story to have its impact, but you don't have enough time to show. I think that must have been the case with this one, because There's obviously a lot of stuff that must have been, cut out on the edit table, and this could have been a result of trying to introduce the elements orally in like a narrative, so voiceover in the voiceover device. And because you can't just use the device of a voiceover once and then just not have it anywhere else, uh, the obvious smart thing to do is to keep another instance of it in the end, so that it feels like there is a sense of like beginning and end to a voiceover, and
Right.
it makes you feel like, okay, the voiceover device was present throughout the entire film, even though it was just in the beginning and then the end. But that's just me. We can try to ask Ryan Johnson if ever
If he sees,
he
this
he
comes
listens
out.
to this podcast. I don't know. But that's I mean, those are the kind of things that I also think about when a movie for the most part works, and then if there's just a couple of elements that don't work, like I feel like it's safe to assume that it must be like a decision in the producers, or like the higher ups, the studio executives, who want like a smaller version because they want more shows in theaters. So at the end of it, it could be just that. Maybe there's a director's cut out there with more scenes
Maybe.
of the character. I was just like looking up the budget for the film, and Wikipedia says 30, but
Like 30 million.
30 million, yeah.
Okay.
Not
$30. Yeah.
Oh no, but at BCIT we could do $30, yeah. So what one of the things that really stuck with me about the film was clever use of budget, hopefully, but also clever use of production design. Because I remember, like you said, most of the film takes place in the interiors of the house where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's, the version, the part of the story featuring the mother and the kid. A lot of that chunk is shot in one house, and then the farm is obviously a key location throughout the film. I remember there's only like maybe one or two sequences at night when there's a particular sequence in the film where they go out, and it feels like the story has sort of shifted gears, and it's coming out of its plot, and it's giving you a sense of the world building. That to me felt like, like, okay, they must have had a pretty strict budget, and they had to keep things contained, which is why most of the key action takes place inside the house and the farm. And then for the little screen time they have to show the city, it makes sense if you make sure what you want the city to look like, so that you can give an accurate depiction of the future, and also not setting the movie far into the future also gives you the sort of idea about keeping it realistic and grounded, because the original Blade Runner had like outlandish ideas about what the future would look like, and we've already crossed in reality we've crossed the time period that the future in the first Blade Runner was set in.
Yeah, they thought we were still be listening to like cassette tapes.
The Blade Runner came out in 82, I think, and it was talking about the future 2019, 2020-ish, and we've already
20. I thought it was 2017.
2017?
I'm pretty sure it's 2017.
2017 is when Blade Runner 2049 came out. That I'm sure of.
Well, that's what I think was kind of the joke of it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't quote me on that, but I think that might have been in here.
It is 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it was 2019.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay.
2019 is the future in the first Blade Runner, and we I mean, some pretty messed up things happened right after 2019, but that's still not how the future looks like, and yeah. So you can only go bold with like a far in the future idea if you have a certain budget, which obviously Blade Runner 2049 had. But yeah, sci-fi feature on the 30 million is at once like a good enough budget, but also like a modest budget for an ambitious sci-fi picture, as Martin Scorsese likes to call it. But I mean, what he did with with the movie was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
I think especially with the casting of Jeff Daniels, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Bruce Willis in that $30 million. That's actually pretty good. That is a really good use of budget. Having
damn good. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 really strong. And it's Emily Blunt that plays Sarah, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got it up. You've got the page open. We're gonna double check that one. But I love Emily Blunt. She's like one of my favorite actresses of all time. Like
sure.
Oh man. I think she should have been Captain Marvel, honestly. Like I really do. Like I'm not quite sure. Like Brie Larson is okay. Like I'm not whatever. But I think like just watch Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise.
Oh, love it. I love it.
That movie is great.
So fun.
Have you seen from the same director? Have you seen American Made?
I have.
That is another great.
Yep.
I'll say this: the people who are like not big like Tom Cruise fans, those are the only 2 movies that I think you need to see him in because he does.
Wow. And you're not even mentioning like Jerry Maguire, Risky Business, wow.
Fuck all that shit. Because this director knew how to rein Tom in. If you know what I mean.
True.
Because he's also actually acting as well too, in like both movies, and especially in American Made, he's doing that stupid accent all throughout. But he's also actually acting, like he's taking it.
Performance.
Yeah, performance. So like, and then also both movies are just really good movies. And Edge of Tomorrow is technically a manga adaptation. It's not an anime adaptation, which is why I think it's actually as good as it is. Because it's not taking it from
Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah, Live, Die, Repeat. That's what my dad always calls it. I'm like, it's not fucking called that. No, it's in the title. And then I think it actually is in the Edge of Tomorrow works though.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a great name for a movie. You don't need the stupid eat, sleep, Fortnite, repeat. Like, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't need to be in the name of a movie.
Yeah.
That can be its own thing.
Coming back to Rian Johnson, what he talks about while doing these movies is first of all his love for Agatha Christie growing up, something which I'm going through for a while, and right now I'm reading Agatha Christie short stories these days, and what he mentioned was her ability to write mysteries. Of course, like being a pro at writing mysteries and whodunits gives you the sort of freedom to choose your own setting, and through choosing that said setting you can present any sort of comment that you have, which is basically what Ryan did with the second one. I mean, the first one was a surprise hit, and then the second one was a Netflix release, and because of COVID, it had like a 1 week theatrical window, but then it came on to Netflix, and then what he does with Knives Out, like what he does with the second Knives Out, Glass Onion, and going forward is he'll specifically choose different sorts of surroundings and put his Daniel Craig character in them, just so that he could deal with the absurdity of the characters in that situation. And of course, like the more exclusive or high profile the situation is, the more interesting and fun it gets. Something about the third part, like Dead Man Walking. There's a third Knives Out movie coming out.
Yeah.
And it's notorious for being like huge, like a big budget. It's like 210 million or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, and people are like, it has no right to be that huge or that costly, which is something I agree with. But then I guess it's the talent involved, and it's a Netflix film at the end, and who knows what streamers are doing with money these days. So
yeah, exactly. Who knows? Maybe it's like, I don't know, because I haven't seen the first two, so I can't comment on kind of like a set design or production design or anything like that, or even props or special effects, visual effects. I can't really comment on that and say that, but maybe even that's what the budget is going towards. Maybe with this one being a third one, it's kind of reaching a certain peak, and what you get away with maybe the first two, okay, now we're doing a third one. You know what I mean? It's like Back to the Future. You got the first one that's a great concept for a movie that has great execution. Then you do a sequel with also a great concept and great execution. And now you've got a third one coming through, and how are we going to follow it up? You know what? We're going to send them to the Old West. They're going to go back. They're going to travel forward in time through a train, and that's how they're going to get it done. And that's why the third Back to the Future is the best. Back to the Future. No, that's not true. I don't believe that. It's a good movie, but it's not the best. But maybe that's just the reason for the third one too, is that it's just reaching a certain peak, it's reaching a certain point. Maybe they need that budget for like whatever reason. Maybe it's not.
Let's hope it's
a
good.
Talent thing, yeah. Or maybe they're just getting RDJ to stop by for a day.
Oh my God,
that's
yeah,
how much he costs. Who knows? I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. So that's about Knives Out. One thing I'd like to talk about and also recommend to you and to the listeners of this podcast is the show Poker Face.
Mm.
It's the first TV show that Ryan has had like full creative control over. He's co-created this. Not like he's the main creator, but he's collaborated with Natasha Lyonne, who's uh, the protagonist in the show, and I was pleasantly surprised by by it. The season 2 is currently in production right now, but what this like what the first season did was basically reintroduce the old mystery of the week uh, format of TV show, because Ryan is a huge fan of Columbo, the 70s TV show, which was not so much who done it as much as it was how done it. The crime and the criminals are introduced to you in the beginning of the story, but how they get caught, or like how their follies get exposed is something to watch out for. And this show does that with a very interesting spin. I would love for you and the listeners to check it out. It's on. It's actually available for free online. It's on the CBC Gems website. I didn't even know it's the streaming service, but then it's like an arm of the CBC company, I guess.
What was the name of the show again?
Poker Face.
Poker Face.
Yeah.
It was on CBC Gem.
Yeah.
You can check out. How many episodes is that in the first
It's
season?
10. It's 10. Very, very appropriately calculated. And
Mm-hmm.
it's again like the first and the last episode have the stuff that can potentially that will definitely get carried forward. But then the episodes 2 to 9 are literally like one setting after another, and it's just about like the lead character trying to solve or like trying to get the criminal caught. So
What's your opinion on that with this new era of streaming coming so prevalently in like almost every single like modern show is that we're getting 8 or 6 episode seasons and we're waiting 2 years between each season of television, when you look at an episode of Seinfeld from the 90s and there's 22 episodes and they were doing them year after year for 9 years. Like, that's kind of what changed. It's not that people want to watch less. If anything, people want to watch more. We have tablets and computers and streaming sites and smart TVs and smart refrigerators and whatnot. Like, we have all these avenues to be able to watch things. Do studios maybe just not want to produce things? But that's not true, because how else are they going to get their money? So what is it about this current trend of 22 episodes? Why, or sorry, of 10 episodes kind of each? Is it maybe even just a creative thing too? Were they hoping for maybe that by cutting down the episode count, that cuts down on the amount of potentially bad episodes, potentially filler episodes? Do TV studios just want to see mini movies and they don't actually want to see TV shows anymore? You know what I mean? Like, I'm wondering. I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. What you think?
I follow I follow a lot of the writing community on Twitter. I will call it Twitter. I will not call it X.
Absolutely, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we'll dead name on this podcast. That's okay.
So lots of writers have weighed in on the strike situation and talk about how miserable the workspace has been for them all, and they've also mentioned how this very fact about streamers and like production companies ordering 10 episodes instead of 22. And my thoughts on it, I'm trying to take like a scaled an appropriately scaled view on this. I've seen all the Friends and How I Met Your Mothers, and Seinfeld was something I had not seen up until this point. I am currently watching it these days. I know you've seen it. You're a fan.
Mhm.
The show was about nothing, right? Seinfeld as a show, it was about nothing. So they had the freedom. We're just taking like one show into consideration, just in terms of for the sake of the topic. We could talk about other contexts for other shows. I feel like the production companies or like studios did not have there wasn't a lot of material in production in the 70s and 80s, because the few shows that were on, they could go for 22 episodes, because that's how uh, partly that's how writers could innovate or like come up with stuff. There was no there, there wasn't there was no social media, so there was no cackle, or there was no noise about audience reactions as such. Hopefully production companies had the levity to, had the leeway, sorry, to shoot more and then just give it to broadcast on show it to the people, like, put put it on air, and the public will watch it. What's happened now is, just like you said, streaming companies have not reduced. I mean, to the extent of the strikes, the productions have greatly reduced, of course. But in terms of stories, and I would not call it content. I would call it material, because there's you get a lot. Instead of like one 22 episode season, you might get 2 or maybe 3 different kinds of shows with 10 episodes. I guess that is what has happened.
Right. Okay.
And limited series work in the sense that, okay, you pick up this thing over the weekend, and if you're a binge watcher, you watch the whole thing, and then by Monday you're done. The weekly episode, I mean, there are TV shows with the weekly episode drops, like Game of Thrones, and was Better Call Saul one of them before it came on Netflix? I guess it was like a weekly, yeah.
Because it was still airing on AMC before it was
Exactly.
streamed anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those were obviously like the water cooler conversation starters, and these quality shows, because also when we're talking about like drama shows, the episode runtime itself is like 45 minutes to 1 hour, but talking about the 22 episode one, like the 22 episode, I think mostly they fall in the sitcom category.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the comedy shows today, like if you look at Atlanta or like the Silicon Valley, they're much more they're far more well researched, I would say, and the quality level of those shows is like leagues above your run of the mill stuff that you can watch on television or like on streamers these days. Also, what I think is, because of the legacy shows that you have, your Friends, your Big Bang Theory, your How I Met Your Mother, your Seinfeld, your Family Guy, your Simpsons, your SpongeBob, all of these shows are the 22 episode shows that you're talking about, right? Those shows are still popular today.
Right.
If people want to watch it, I mean, we talk about those shows all the time in class, like references and stuff.
The material exists.
It already exists. So if the audience wants to watch something new, and also there's the ADD generation, like with Gen Z millennials, like the short attention span and everything.
And Gen Alpha. We're
oh my god, yeah.
We're acknowledging Gen Alpha.
Yeah,
We've
okay.
as someone who was born in 2000, it technically classifies as a Zoomer.
Right.
Yes, Gen Alpha. We're finally.
Right.
I'm becoming the millennials of my generation. It's finally happening. It's a scary thought, but it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And also, for all we know, like there are shows being produced, being aired. We just don't watch them because our interests don't lie there as viewers, because before coming to this program we did not know much about like Hallmark movies or like movies of the week. But then as we grow deeper into our own program and we meet people who are working in the field, what they are suggesting is go work on MOWs, go work on Hallmark movies. So that's how we get to know, oh, this is a market. But then in terms of our viewing priorities, I think it's a fair thing to say that the studios will stop producing if the people will stop watching. And if we are and we are liking the shorter comedy shows for good reason, like Silicon Valley and Atlanta, and Abbott Elementary is also one of the new good comedy shows. Yeah.
And it's more of along the line of a traditional sitcom.
Yeah, there's also The Good Place, Schitt's Creek. So these are well researched, and if not well researched, they are quite imaginative in their own way. Like if you take the example of The Good Place, it's about like literally heaven. And if you have a good sort of budget and if you have good ideas, you'd like to execute your ideas on like special effects for a TV show, which was sort of unheard of. And then you have your like Brooklyn Nine. You have Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is a fairly recent show, which was 22 episodes long. So you get those every once in a while. Even today, I'd like to think so. If you consider like in terms of like more episodes, more material, Suits was a TV show which was like 45 minutes long, but then it used to have like 16 episodes per season, which is like
that's long.
And you as a viewer, if you, I've seen all of the episodes, and once you've seen a show enough, you realize, okay, like more of the same stuff. You get used to the tropes.
Mm-hmm.
So if they wanted, like they could produce more shows, but then there's that thing of like, quit while you're ahead.
I want to thank ADDY again for coming onto the podcast today and being my second guest on the second episode. In the last podcast, we said that Ethan was the first second,
first, you guys were.
Yeah. But I think truthfully, you're the actual.
The second.
You're the first. You're the first second.
First
guest.
second.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
First
yeah.
second. Okay.
He's the Ethan's.
He's the first because technically the first one you recorded is episode 0, so you don't even have to think about the second number in his case.
Right, exactly. So he's still just the first guest.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
He's not in my
solid for you.
Yeah. In my brain and heart, Ethan is second to none. He's first always, as far as I'm concerned.
Cute.
But I want to thank ADDY for being here today.
Thank you, Wyatt. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to the listeners of the Second Year Run podcast, and I hope you have a good rest of the day, wherever that is for you.